Hello, welcome to another episode of Women Locked Up Before and After. I have a article. It'll change the way you look at things altogether. It's about a woman who was detoxing from heroin and died in jail after being denied medical care. This starts out by saying, a report by Nevada State investigators has found that a woman who died after suffering a drug withdrawal-induced seizure in a jail cell last year was denied medical care. A Mineral County deputy instead gave Kelly Coltrane a mop with which to clean her vomit. The newspaper obtained video footage of Coltrane's interactions with jailers who were monitoring her cell by video. Coltrane died less than an hour later. The 27-year-old had been in jail for 4 days prior to her July 23, 2017 death, during which she asked to be taken to a hospital. A federal wrongful death lawsuit filed by her family last week states that the hospital is located across the street from the Mineral County Jail in Hawthorne. Detective Damon Earle, a Nevada state investigator assigned to probe Coltrane's death, wrote in a 300-page report released this week that he timed a walk from the jail to the hospital as taking a little over 2 minutes. Coltrane, who was jailed for outstanding traffic tickets, lay dead for more than 6 hours before a deputy found her body. The deputy did not call for medical help or try to revive her. Coltrane's final hours are detailed in the investigative report released this week by Nevada Division of Investigation officials, who found that deputies violated several of the jail's own policies when they denied her medical care. Coltrane had told jail workers that she was addicted to drugs and suffered seizures when she went through withdrawal. The investigators also requested that Mineral County prosecutors consider criminal charges against the deputies involved. The Gazette-Journal reported that the case was forwarded to the Lyon County District Attorney to avoid a conflict of interest. Lyon County officials declined to prosecute. The review of this case, in our opinion, did not establish any willful or malicious acts by jail staff that would justify the filing of charges under the requirements of statute. The lawsuit filed by Coltrane's family alleges jail personnel deprived her of her constitutional right to adequate medical care and ultimately caused her death. The lawsuit states that jail officials ignored their own medical policies for when inmates come in suffering from withdrawal symptoms. The policies require that inmates with a history of seizures be taken to a hospital and medically cleared before being jailed. The jail designates max cells for inmates at risk because of drug abuse. Deputies are supposed to monitor those inmates every 15 to 20 minutes. Now, I stated that in one of my videos before about that, how I was over there. They literally would check like twice on their shift, and that was it. And that's if they was lucky. With a physical check to be done twice an hour if the inmate is lying down. The deputy placing the inmate into the security cell must also start an incident report, which should include details of circumstances of the inmate, as well as observations and actions of deputies. A sergeant is supposed to act as a medical liaison to schedule appointments, maintain the inmate's medical records, and fill and refill medications as needed. The jail policies also require that the hospital be called any time an inmate requests a visit to the emergency room. The inmate is supposed to fill out a request form describing the illness, and I've definitely made a video about that before, about how many times I did that, and other people has done that, and they just keep on denying stuff like that. Something needs to be done about this. It's just, there's too many people dying. It also states the medical liaison is also supposed to start a medical file on all inmates requesting a trip to the hospital. The report from the state investigators indicates that none of those policies were followed. Initially refused to answer questions about her medical history. The probe found that Coltrane, who was arrested after she was stopped for speeding, initially refused to answer questions about her medical history. When she realized she would not be able to make bail, she told Holland she was opiate dependent and suffered seizures if she went through withdrawal. Holland failed to have her taken to the hospital to be medically cleared. Jail staff also failed to monitor her vital signs as required by the medical policies. About 4 hours into her jail stay, Coltrane told the night deputy that she needed to go to the hospital for her medication. He told her she could not go to the hospital unless he determined her life was in danger. Okay, I want to say something real quick. I have heard them tell them in the county jail or in prison, if they're still breathing, they're okay, especially in prison. Like, somebody will go up there and tell somebody at the tower, hey, this person's sick, or they're having a heart attack, stroke, whatever, and all they'll say is, are they still breathing? Well, that's okay. We'll check on them later on. They'll never even come back. Okay, this is what the man said. Unfortunately, since you're detoxing, I'm not going to take you over to the hospital right now just to get your fix. Gosh, are you serious? That's not the way detention works, unfortunately. You are incarcerated with us, so you don't get to go to the hospital when you want. When we feel your life is at risk, then you will go. Oh my gosh. That's terrible. The lawsuit filed by Coltrane's family states that Galinsky admitted to investigators that she told him that she suffered from seizures. Galinsky replied, the next time you have a seizure, since you're prone to them, I'll come in here right away. The deputy also told investigators that he did not believe she was in withdrawal the first night because she had only been in jail for a few hours. According to the lawsuit, for the next 3 days, Coltrane spent most of her time curled in the fetal position on her bunk, eating and drinking very little. She could occasionally be seen moving around restlessly and yawning, which are signs of opiate withdrawal. The video shows she also appeared to have full-body convulsions. July 20th, 2 days before the final fatal seizure, on July 22nd, she began vomiting, trembling, and making short, convulsive-type movements. Holland brought her dinner shortly after 5 p.m., and at his urging, she ate a few bites. The sergeant also brought her a clean black and white jail uniform because she had vomited on the one she was wearing. At that point, Holland brought her a mop. Oh my gosh. The jail video obtained by Gazette Journal shows Coltrane mopping the floor as she sits on her bunk, trembling. Holland, he returned to point out spots she had missed, later told state investigators that he thought it was strange that she stayed in bed to mop the floor. Sergeant Holland advised he thought Coltrane was just lazy and that she just didn't want to stand up to clean the floor. Sergeant Holland advised he just wanted the floor to be cleaned and he didn't care how it got done, just that it got cleaned up. When Holland left with the mop, it was the last time Coltrane was seen alive. Less than an hour later, Coltrane was shown on the video lying in the fetal position when her body suddenly goes rigid and her legs straighten, while on her stomach, her face slowly rises towards the back wall, and her arm stretches out and hangs off the bed onto the mattress, and for the next several minutes her body appears to go through periodic convulsions. She stopped moving completely around 6:26 p.m. She was in the same position when Galinsky arrived around 12:30 p.m. the following morning to move her to a different cell. The investigative report indicated that a 20-minute portion of video finds Coltrane dead was not provided to state investigators. The Gazette Journal obtained the footage from one of the lawyers representing Coltrane's family. In that footage, Galinsky is seen nudging Coltrane's leg with his boot to wake her. When she doesn't respond, he goes into the cell and, after looking at her face and touching her arm, quickly exits. State investigators said that Galinsky went and notified his supervisor that Coltrane was cold and appeared to be dead. The footage showed him re-enter her cell, feel for a pulse, and leave again. Oh my gosh. I hope this man is fired. Paramedics were not called for, and Coltrane was left in the cell for another 5 hours until a forensic technician arrived to begin processing the scene. Wow. The medical examiner who conducted Coltrane's autopsy found heroin in her system. Her death was classified as accidental, with the cause of death listed as complications of drug use. Galinsky told state investigators that he looked at Coltrane on the video monitor several times overnight, but thought she was sleeping. He did not perform a physical welfare check as required by jail policies. Holland told them that Coltrane never looked good and said he could not force medical attention on the inmates. The lawsuit filed in Coltrane's death states that Holland told investigators he did not recall if she had requested medical care. Coltrane's mother, Carol Fesser, claims in the suit, however, that she called and talked to the sergeant July 20th, the day after her daughter was booked. Good, I can get verification of this, Holland said, according to Fesser. Kelly stated she was drug dependent and had seizures, so she needed to go to the hospital. Fesser said she verified what her daughter had told the jailer, who said that was one reason they were keeping Coltrane under observation. Kelly had mentioned she might as well die. Kelly said she needed medical care. I explained to her we could take care of her since we have a fine medical facility. Fesser said Holland told her he has 4 daughters and promised to keep her daughter safe. Kelly will be taken good care of, Holland said, according to the lawsuit. Fesser told investigators that her daughter had also told her she should just go kill herself because she was arrested again. Are you kidding? Carol stated Kelly's first words to her were, "I never thought I'd call you from jail again, Mom," the report said. Kelly told Carol just to pack up their stuff because they were going to lose their apartment. Rye told the Gazette-Journal that he did not find any evidence that the deputies acted with malicious intent in their treatment of Coltrane. He said his review indicated that the deputies did not see any sign that the inmate needed medical intervention based on their training as deputies. The family's lawsuit states trained correctional policymakers and officers are aware of the opiate epidemic in the United States and are particularly attuned to patterns of heroin and opiate abuse due to the high number of heroin opiate abusers typically present in a correctional population. They were also aware of the risk of seizures and other symptoms of withdrawals from those drugs. Deputies knew Kelly Coltrane had lain for days at the jail, in bed, buried beneath blankets, vomiting multiple times, refusing meals, trembling, shaking, and rarely moving. Her family's lawyers, Terry Kaiser Cooper and Carrie Doyle, wrote in the suit. Defendants knew Kelly Coltrane was in medical distress. The attorneys pointed out that the jail had no policy on what to do when an inmate is found unresponsive. They wrote that the deputies were deliberately indifferent to her medical needs, which caused her death. Kelly Coltrane's medical condition was treatable and her death preventable. If Miss Coltrane had received timely and appropriate medical care, she would not have died. Thank you. Kelly Coltrane suffered a protracted, extensive, painful, and unnecessary death as a result of defendants' failures. Earl seemed to agree in his report, pointing out that Coltrane might have been saved if Holland and Galinsky had followed jail policies and made more contact with her in her cell, where they might have noticed the indications of withdrawal that were seen on the video clearly. These indicators may have alerted staff, therefore prompting medical attention to be rendered to Coltrane. The Gazette-Journal reported that county officials declined to say what, if any, discipline the deputies received following Coltrane's death. Holland was since retired early, with the county commission offering him a $17,853 buyout in June that allowed him to retire with a big pension and better health care benefits. Wow. The lawsuit against those involved seeks compensation for Coltrane's death, as well as changes to the way people undergoing withdrawal in the jail are treated. Coltrane's family said in the lawsuit that despite struggling with addiction, she had been upbeat and happy during the family's time together prior to her arrest. She actually was thinking about becoming a nurse. Kelly had a life of promise and potential. Her aunt, Catherine Wise, recalled the last few days with her niece for the Chronicle. We had gone on hikes, swam, and relaxed by the lake together. Most importantly, we were able to hug, have a laugh, and share the exciting things going on and plans for the future. I miss my niece's sweet laugh. She was so full of life, even in her deepest points of addiction. She was someone you wanted to be around and the best friend you could ever ask for. She was my biggest cheerleader, and I miss her support and positivity for the rest of my life. That was it. But yeah, we need to try to find some way to get something done about this. There's way too much of this going on. But I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. It was a really sad story. I hope nobody has to go through anything like that ever. I mean, I went through withdrawals in the county jail several times myself, and I can say that it's very, very bad. I mean, that's what I was thinking in my head, that I was going to die myself. But anyway, if you like this video and you want to see more, comment below. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button and hit that like button too, please. I got more videos coming up your way. Please stay tuned, and peace and love y'all. Bye.